We are always talking about how competitive a market it is out there to find employees. We also talk about, as small business owners, how it's hard to attract employees from other companies because it's tough to compete sometimes. But what if there was a way to attract better talent or keep your current talent and give them a raise, and it didn't cost you anything, or you could potentially save money doing it? We're going to talk about how to do that today. Welcome to the KeyHire Small Business Podcast, where we cover the issues that help owners scale their small business. I'm Harlock, creator of KeyHire Solutions, and I'm going to be your host today. Our guest today is Anthony Markey. He's the owner and business profit advocate of the Markey Agency, where they help for-profit and not-for-profit businesses with their benefits. A little bit about Anthony. He's been a self-employed entrepreneur for 7 years. He played college ball at WIU, and he likes to travel and plan to work from the road in the near future as we decide what state we would like to live in. That's the dream. That's what we hear all the time. People talking about, I want to be full remote, work from the back of your van before you go surfing. So anyway, Matt, let's bring him on. Good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Corey. Thanks for having me.
Hey, my pleasure. I guess we're still technically in the morning. We usually record in the afternoon, but we're in the morning here. What state are you in currently?
I'm in Iowa.
Well, there's a lot of choices that are better, maybe better than Iowa to be working out of.
No, Iowa's nice. It is. I can't talk too much, bad about it. But there's a whole lot out there that I'd like to see and experience before I decide on, okay, are we putting roots down in Iowa? It's on the board. We'll see.
Yeah. Check out Tax State. There's a lot of discrepancy there.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. The business-friendly states are going to be high on that list.
Yeah. Now, I'm a Canadian who lives in Katy, Texas. What is WIU?
Western Illinois University.
Okay. And you played college football. What position?
I always tell people free safety, and if you see me in person and you know anything about football, you know I'm a liar. I was an offensive lineman. I was a right tackle.
Is that blindside?
No.
Left tackle is blindside.
Yep. No, right tackle. So yeah, people see me and I say, I was a free safety. If they know nothing about football, they'll just nod their head and go along. Right, yeah. But the fun people are the ones that call me a liar.
That's cool. Awesome. Well, hey, we're talking about benefits and different ways to use and leverage benefits today. You came up with you can give your employees a raise and save money, and it captivated me, and it made me think, man, that sounds like something every small business owner, if they had that recipe, they could use it. So we always like to talk about some definitions here. So, as we go through this conversation, what are some of the things we're going to need to understand and know about as we get deeper into this?
Yeah. And one of the things that always comes up is people, the first thing is too good to be true. How can you offer this for free? Nothing I do is free, right? That's just not how it works. It's a net savings. It's going to save you more having it than not having it. Okay. So when people are like, well, how does it work if it's free? It's not free, right? You're recouping the money that you were spending elsewhere, right? We're going to be able to do that for you. So a lot of people, that's the big hurdle, is just saying, it doesn't make sense. And then you start to see the math and see how it works. And you go, okay, that adds up now. So that's the big one that, I like to lead with, is nothing's free, right? I'm not going to be able to travel the country and put down roots somewhere if I'm doing it, for charity, right? So, that's the main thing to keep an eye out on. And then different types of benefits, right, are important for people to know. Everybody knows, like, your major medical insurances that businesses offer. They know that, hey, we're under 50. We don't have to offer it. We're not going to be penalized. So what can we do outside of that? There's ancillary benefits. There's volunteer benefit. All that kind of stuff kind of comes into play too, as far as like definition.
Okay, so walk me through it. Speaking of definitions, ancillary benefits, and what was the second one you said? Voluntary?
Yeah, voluntary benefits, ancillary benefits. All ancillaries voluntary. You don't have to get any of this stuff, but an ancillary benefit would be like life insurance through an employer, or dental vision through an employer. It's not your major medical. It's not going to be there in the event of a hospitalization, things like that. Those are the issue. And then you have other voluntary benefits that people might want to pick up that could also possibly be considered ancillary, but a lot of them are like your wellness benefits, or different things offered through the group.
So these are things that are part of as an employer, you offer the core benefits, and then you have an a la carte menu, if you will, of things that if people want to add those to those, and they can be deducted from their check and covered up, but they're not required, or they're not part of the core offering. Is that correct?
Yeah. They're just nice add-ons if somebody finds value in it.
Got it. So like pet insurance or whatever it could be. If I wear glasses, I would want dental insurance, which I found out my wife, I'm like, where's our dental or our vision insurance? She's like, we don't have it. I'm like, I wear glasses, right? She's like, maybe we need to opt in. So, okay, cool. So those so what do we call the core benefits? Those are the
major medical.
Major medical. And is that required? Do people have to have major medical? Do they have to offer it, or at what point do they have to offer it?
If you're an employer with more than 50 full-time employees, you're going to have to offer some form of major medical. It's just since the ACA, that's the rule. So your smaller companies, your ones under 50 that hire 20 or 30 employees, they don't have to offer it. A lot of them don't want to because it's expensive. It can be expensive. And a lot of people, they might be better off just going to the marketplace and getting their, ACA marketplace insurance, where they might get some sort of a subsidy from the government. Maybe their income's low enough that they can get it, mostly paid for or completely paid for. So the employer doesn't want to offer that because there's certain rules in place that if your employer offers insurance that's deemed affordable, you no longer qualify for that subsidy. So it can actually be a negative for the individual to have them.
So one of the upticks I've seen since the pandemic, and I hate it's so long ago, but it still happened. Medical skyrocketed to the top of the list of questions about people were asking when they were transitioning from jobs. So I'm leaving a company. They have a benefit program. I know it. I trust it. I might not like it. I might find it a little expensive. But in order to take a new job, people used to want to know what's the pay, what's the incentive, what's the schedule, and that switched to what are their benefits and what does my schedule look like? Is it hybrid? Is it remote? Is it in office? That one is shifting a bit, but benefits still come up often. And to my experience, a company that doesn't offer benefits is putting themselves at a deficit in terms of bringing in the people they want. Do you agree or disagree with that?
The best talent out there, the people that, you really want to have on your team, are going to require some sort of benefits. It's just, why would they work for you if they can go down the road, make, maybe a little bit less, but save so much and know that that's taken care of in the event that something happens, or if they need it, or if their family needs it. Because there's all sorts of people out there that they don't need to work anymore, but they do specifically for the benefits, right? Because those are expensive. If you try to go as a 1099 or an individual, if you've went out and tried to find benefits for yourself, how expensive they are.
Right.
And then if you're not offering benefits and somebody offers a nickel pay raise down the road, they're gone. Right. Yeah. So in order to retain your best talent and, to help retain talent and acquire talent, you need to have something that's going to set you apart a little bit.
Yeah. Or if you can't get set apart as a small business owner, at least be competitive.
Yep.
Right. At least be able to talk apples to apples. I mean, you might be talking a Macintosh to Fiji, but you're still in the ballpark offering those are varieties of apples for those people who don't know, but at least you're talking apples to apples, right? So walk me through, before we get into some of the mistakes you've seen people do this, so we understand the concept of, giving someone a raise, but saving money in the long term. Maybe if you can kind of get into the weeds a bit about what is our formula here, or what's the process? What does it look like, Anthony?
Yeah. So there's more than just me out there. There's a number of products out there that can accomplish this goal. One of the terms that I probably should have mentioned in the beginning that would be good to know as a definition is Section 125. Just IRS code Section 125, commonly known as the cafeteria plan. That just means that benefits are allowed to be pre-taxed, right? You're paying for them out of your pre-tax paycheck. So your 401k, it's a section 125. Your dental vision, section 125. There's a lot of a lot of benefits that can fall under a section 125 umbrella. So 30,000 foot view, not to go super deep into the weeds, is we're utilizing a section 125 chassis for a wellness benefit, right? And the way that it's structured is it leads to a net savings on their payroll for the employer, and it leads to a net pay raise for the employees, right? It's not free, but you're saving more on the section 125 pre-taxed side of it than what the cost of it is.
So if I'm understanding what you're saying, let's say the benefit is $100 a week or a check. So I pay $100 pre-tax. So if I was paying at a 30% tax rate, I would get that $30 back on my check, but then that $30 is going to be taxed at 30%, correct?
So no, that $30 isn't taxed because it's a claim payment. So the way that it's structured is there's pre-tax deductions and post-tax claim payments. Let's say you have a traditional accident policy that if you break a bone, it's going to pay you $1,000, right? Every month you have a pre-tax deduction for it. Let's say it's $100 a month for easy math. If you break your bone, the insurance company pays you $1,000 tax-free because it's a claim payment, right? So you lowered your taxable income by $100 for having it, and then it paid you $1,000 back. That's how these wellness benefits are structured. Is there's a pre-tax deduction, and then by utilizing the wellness portion of the plan, there's a post-tax claim payment on the same check, leading you to have a lower taxable income, leading to a net pay raise for you. And because as the employer, you're paying a matching 7.65%, you're saving on there as well, because on paper, your employee is being taxed less.
Okay. And so is there a benefit to paying everything pre-tax? So then you're not paying it's not coming out of your take-home money, but it's coming into your pre-check. So you're not getting taxed on that $100 per month and then paying the $100. You're paying the $100 pre-tax. So essentially you're saving that, whatever that tax rate is. We'll use 30% because it's round number. So if I paid it after I got taxed, that would technically cost me more than paying it pre-taxed and then getting the savings on the taxable once my income is taxed. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Let's say that your monthly take home is $6,000, or your monthly pay is $6,000 before you get taxed. And then your section 125s come out, your 401k, your major medical insurances, your dental, your vision, your ancillary, your wellness benefit. And let's say it's $2,000 a month on all your benefits, right? Counting everything, right? Just for math. Now you're only going to get taxed on $4,000,
right?
As opposed to $6,000. So that's where the section 125 comes in. With the wellness benefit, yes, you're being taxed on a lower amount because there's a pre-tax section 125, but then there's a post-tax claim payment that is going to increase your post-tax because you're not getting taxed on the wellness benefit. So leading to a lower taxable income, higher net take home.
Got it. So you use the example of breaking a bone. Surely you're not advocating people go out and break something so they can get the payment, but there's got to be less painful ways to get these payments out of the system.
Yep. A lot of different wellness benefits like this. They have a category of CPT coded triggers, right? That would trigger that, equivalent to like breaking a bone. So a lot of them would be like watching a video about weight loss, right? If you're determined to say, hey, one of my goals is to lose weight, or smoking cessation, I want to quit smoking. So they have a tailored health wellness benefit that you engage with every month, triggering the CPT code, triggering the claim payment, right, for participation. And there's a number of ways that those can be qualified every month. And if it leads to a higher paycheck, your participation with your employees goes really, really high, right? They're going to ask how they can do that full time. You tell me I watch a video for 5 minutes and I get an extra $100 on my paycheck, right? I want to do this full time, right?
Yeah, what other videos you got? Let's roll.
Let's just one after another.
How else can I make myself better?
Yeah, exactly. So it's actually helping the employer in a multiple areas then, right? Because there's the
Okay.
obvious trackable, it's going to be a net savings on your payroll taxes. Your
Got it.
employees are going to be happier because of the added benefits, but it's also going to lead to healthier employees, which is a hard to calculate figure. But if they're taking less sick days, or
Sure.
they're using, let's say you do offer major medical, let's say you have a level funded plan, and they're utilizing less of those benefits that you're paying for, that leads to lower renewals, right?
Correct.
That means
Yeah.
that you're saving money on your other
Yeah.
benefits as well. So there's a multitude of areas where this plugs in and helps.
So I have a client, or had a client, where they had a ton of legacy employees that were aging, getting older, and they started getting a few of them got some really critical illnesses. And because they went through all these treatments and had to have all these procedures, their premiums went through the roof.
Mhm.
And now their cost of benefits, it makes it hard to attract. Like, they get people in the door and then they're like, okay, well, what does my package look like? And then they give them this great salary and they give them all this stuff. They're excited. And then they say, well, what about your benefits? They give it to them. They're like, whoa, that's I'm net neutral when it comes to everything, because you give me this nice raise, but now I got to pay for the benefits. And that's just erased the raise you gave me.
Mhm. Yep.
Crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, healthier people, getting people more aware of uh, doing good for themselves, being healthier. They're more productive. They're happier at work. They're fewer sick days. All that good stuff. So this feels like a twofer in terms of, they might be doing it to get the extra money, but if they're getting some good advice out of it to help them be healthier and live longer, a longer, healthier life, that benefits the company as well.
Mhm. Yeah. A twofer or a threefer or a fourfer, because
Or for you.
it's not just the employee, it's the employee and their family.
Fair
So
enough.
you're able to help that because your kid's less sick. You're not taking days off to stay home for them too. So
That's a good point. Yeah, the trickle down of all of it, right?
mhm.
Very cool. Well, let's talk about some mistakes. So, as an employer, let's say I'm 50 employees, because we'll put it right in the gray area, and I'm looking at. I currently have a plan, or I'm looking at getting a new plan, uh, because I want to take advantage of all this stuff. What are the biggest mistakes you've seen business owners make when they structure their benefit plans?
The biggest mistake, hands down, that they make is they're married to their broker, right? Where, oh, he's my cousin.
I've known them for years.
I've known him forever. He's doing me right. All right.
Yeah.
When was the last time you looked at it? Right. Because I'm not saying that it's all of them, but you're probably being overcharged if you're not being competitive. And that's with anything. If you're 100% brand loyal to one thing and then you never look elsewhere, you're going to end up overcharged, right?
Yeah.
Insurances, especially, they can creep up over time. So you're constantly wanting to evaluate. So one of the questions that I ask everybody before I even bother them is, are you married to your broker? Because the last thing I want to do is put all this time and effort into showing them how they're being overcharged $2,600 a year per employee, for them to come back and say, well, I'm not going to change anything because. And it's like, well, okay.
Or
Well,
I talked to my buddy and he said, yeah, you can drop ours.
yeah. So that's the big mistake they make,
Right.
is they just kind of get comfortable and they get lax and they don't realize that they're over a barrel. Right.
So I just want to make a point here. We've done shows on benefits before, and every person who's talked about benefits, and if you're listening, go back into the directory and look for shows on benefits. Every person who's talked to us about benefits on the show has said, go shop your quotes. Don't trust. If you're loyal to a broker, you've been with them for years, doesn't mean you shouldn't use them, but don't trust them that you're getting the best deal, because oftentimes if you get lazy, they go, oh, beautiful, right?
yeah.
They're not going to
Yeah.
question it. So that advice is very consistent, Anthony. So thank you for bringing that up. And if you're listening, do the exercise. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass, but just do it.
Well, it's more than that. Actually, if you're following any of the stuff going on right now, if you're a company over 100, you have the fiduciary responsibility to make sure you're getting the best for your employees. There's a reason there's lawsuits out there right now with like JP Morgan, where if you're just kind of sitting back on your laurels and saying, we'll just do whatever, that means your employees are the ones being overcharged. Right? They're paying more than what they should. You're not doing your fiduciary responsibility to take care of your employees, right? So that's a negative as well. And right now it's reserved for companies over 100. But how long until that trickles down into, your groups of 50 or lower, right?
How is that triggered, Anthony? Would that be an employee kind of
it can be any number of
alarm
things
and saying, hey, I don't think they're doing everything they should, or is that a random audit? How would they figure that out?
The answer is yes, right? If let's say you're an employee in groups of 1,000 or more, right, and you're talking to another buddy that's with another similar company, right, and they say, "Man, I'm paying this much," and you go, "What? That's 25% more than me," right? Now you're curious why you're getting shafted. And it doesn't take a lot for that to roll up. And the more employees you have and the more people they're talking to, the more likely is that's going to happen. And if you want to talk about losing the respect of your employees or losing your best talent, that's a quick way to do it, where they realize that, they're paying way more, or they're not in the best situation they can be. They're the employees that you want to keep the most because everybody else wants them too. Right. So they'll be gone.
In the way, because I see talent, the person that's saying I'm being overcharged probably hasn't gone and looked for a job in a while. They're probably this loyal, maybe a legacy employee, but they're a loyal long-term employee who's just likes the company, likes the leadership, and is assuming that they're doing the right thing and trusting them to. And that, as a business owner, could be a trigger for that employee to go, whoa, I thought they were taking care of us. What else isn't going on here? Now you have someone who isn't just curious about getting a better benefit program, but they're curious to know what else is out there. You know how many people I talk to, and it's a big percentage, but maybe in the 10% range when I say, why are you looking? What's going on in your world that has you thinking about something new? And they say something to the effect of, I just want to see where I fit on the market. If my company is if I'm being competitively paid, and if my package is competitive, and if I can find something better, I'll take it. Has nothing to do with anything other than trying to put more money in the bank and create a better lifestyle for themselves or them and their family or whatever it is. So it's a real low key kind of driver where someone your work might be perfectly happy, but then they're like, whoa, I'm paying how much more for benefits than everyone else, or I'm 10% below market? That doesn't seem right. Now they're kind of upset, and maybe they're looking to leave.
Well, there's that, and the fact that that's become the cultural shift anyway. It wasn't that long ago before somebody goes, I'm going to start working this company, and they work there their entire life, and then they retire from there. That was how it used to be.
Yep.
Now people are more than willing to go, I'm looking every year. I'm going to make sure that I'm spending my time. And that's been the shift. The younger generation is less likely to have that, loyalty to, just the idea that I've been with this one company for 30 years doesn't mean anything to them. Nor really should it. They're actually working for the best for their families, right? They're the only ones that are going to consider that. So.
Well, and there's been so many that shifted, just kind of laying people off, rehiring, the lack of loyalty by companies or as it's perceived by employees. And that's real. How many posts do you see on LinkedIn where it's like, if business sinks, they're going to lay you off tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. Like the doors will still be open whether you're there or not. And I think that message is there. And then what you're talking about with the younger generation is the lateral experience versus the vertical. So the old school way was I'll climb and grow my career within a company, and younger generations are, well, I'm going to stay with the company and I'll give them a year, 18 months, 2 years. And if I don't get the opportunity I ask for, I'll just go to the next company who will give it to me. And I'll stay there for 12 to 24 months. And I'll say, hey, I want this job. And if they don't give it to me, I'll just go to the next company that'll give it to me. And so they move vertically. They build their resume and their careers vertically or horizontally versus vertically, like is, the boomers and Gen X's are used to.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And it's more of that every day. So just you have to be more competitive.
Yep. What other mistakes? We got into one and then we got totally sidetracked. So what other mistakes do you see business owners make?
Yeah. And another one is, so obviously making sure that you're always looking, making sure that you're doing what's best for your employees, making sure that if somebody has your business, they earned it. But also taking a look at other ideas, right? A lot of the people I talk to about this are like, why have I never heard about this? You haven't looked for it, right? You don't have a team of forensic CPAs out there trying to find different areas in which to, save money and find different ways that you can save and help employees and stuff. So a lot of it is just lack of looking, right? You go in your head, is like, there's only one thing that I need to know. And this is true outside of just businesses looking at benefits. It's just everything, knowing that you don't know what you don't know. And being willing to look at different ideas, hold them up to the light, and kind of see how they work. Because, like I said, most people I talk to about this concept have never heard of it before. And then it's my job to educate them, say, okay, well, last year in April 2024, there was a tri-agent ruling that said that benefits can be used, that the payouts like these can be used for anything. And they give examples such as rent or groceries, because a lot of people up until then were like, well, if I'm getting paid a benefit for a broken leg, I have to use it for my medical bill. The tri-agent ruling came out and said, no, you don't. You can actually use it for paying for your rent. You can use it for buying groceries or buying food. You can use it for whatever, right? So people not in the know don't know that, and they kind of have this preconceived notion that that's something that's, well, this can't be because of, historical whatever. It's like, oh, no, things are constantly changing, and trying to stay on top of that and hear new ideas and then examine them for yourself is the next big hurdle.
And that makes sense, because the one thing we know about small business owners are their heads down, they're working their asses off, and they don't get a chance to look up and stay current, right? Like what we say here is oftentimes by the time they get a chance to look up and take a breath, the landscape has changed in one way or another, whether it's the way benefits are handled. It could be they've grown their business into a new area where they need benefits, or now they need an employee handbook or whatever it is. So it's always changing for them. But the one thing we also know, the battle cry of the small business owner is don't have time, don't have the money, right? And so this sounds like it could be like, man, I don't have time to go through this big old transition. But I have a feeling if you hire the right person, they're going to kind of do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, and they'll just, you got to roll it out. You got to do your open enrollment or whatever. You got to roll it out. But how much work is it to switch benefit companies and then roll out your new program?
So with the when we're talking about major medical, that's when you're talking about switching. With what we've been talking about so far with the wellness benefit, it disrupts zero. It doesn't change what you already have. Yeah, so we use great TPAs, third-party administrators, that go in and they'll provide the education. They'll show how to file for payroll. They'll tell you, what kind of trainings the employees would need in order to utilize the benefit, and it becomes just part of your process. With what we're doing here, it doesn't matter if a company has major medical or other insurances or not. This doesn't disrupt or change anything that they're already doing. So if they don't have major medical, great. We're going to put this into place. It's going to make you more competitive when it comes to finding talent and acquiring talent, and it's not going to prevent your employees from going and getting individual coverage. So let's say that your employees are happy with going and getting their individual coverage or through a spouse or whatever. Great. This isn't going to change their ability to do so. Or if you do have major medical in place, this isn't going to come in and disrupt those areas. In fact, like I kind of alluded to earlier, depending on what kind of major medical you have, you're offloading a lot of those high frequency, low severity claims off of your major medical, leading to lower renewal rates. So it's kind of a plug and play. We handle all of that education and stuff. Obviously, you have your part with the payroll, but 5-10 minutes extra a pay period.
Okay, very cool. So it's painless. It should be painless.
Yeah.
You guys will do all the heavy lifting for them.
Yep. That's why we have, like I said, we have amazing TPAs. They go in and they do that. That's their job. Why would we say, hey, here's this super great thing, but it's going to be a lot of legwork? Nobody's going to want to do it, right? Cool. Like you said, your head's down. You're focused on what makes you money, your business, right? Let us handle that side of it.
Awesome. So Anthony, let's move to the advice section. So other than calling you, if someone's listening to this thinking, okay, this makes sense. If I could be more competitive, and attract better people by doing something that's actually going to be a benefit to me and my employees, what are the first 3 to 5 things they need to be thinking about or taking action on to kind of start the process?
Yeah, the first would be researching what's out there, right? Taking a look at, what are some of the bigger companies doing? Because the bigger, it's almost a trope. Amazon doesn't pay taxes or Walmart doesn't pay taxes. And it's not because they have different rules or different laws or anything. They're playing by the same rules. They just gatekeep a lot of the stuff that they find. Like I said, you as a small business owner don't have a team of forensic CPAs out there doing this. So there's information out there on how you can find money and save money that the big guys use. They just kind of keep secret. Right. So be willing to spend a little bit of time investigating. If you have somebody that's in the know, reach out to them, have a conversation. The second advice is kind of back to what I originally said. It's not being married to your broker. Entertain other offers. If he's your cousin and you don't want to cause a fight over Christmas, I get it, but make him earn your business, right? That's the only way that it's going to be competitive. You have to go earn business every single day, right? You're out there, whatever it is you're doing, you're selling, you're marketing, you have to make them do the same, right? It's the only way that you're going to make sure that you're doing best for your business and best for your employees. Third is listen to your employees. A lot of times they have, other friends or other family members that are getting something. Like I said, if they're listening, oh, somebody offers this, that's interesting. Nip that in the bud right away and find a way that you can implement something like that that's going to keep them there, right? A lot of times they'll tell you what they want, right? So whatever version that is, whether it's just saying, you know what, we want to add as much value to guys as possible. We're a team here. We're trying to grow this organically as a family. What are some things that you've seen out there that we might be able to help? Whether or not you implement them, you're at least asking, and people like that, they feel like they have a role to play because, oh, my wife gets this really cool thing through work, and great. How can we implement it? Where can we find it? Who can we talk to? So a lot of it is just getting your head out of the sand, taking a look. It's extra work to find. But when you do come across something, hold it up to the light, make sure it's real, and have the conversation.
Very cool. And if people are listening to this thinking, man, I need to talk to Anthony and get some more information on this, how can we get in touch with you?
Yeah, the best way would be you can just email me, admin@ikag.me. That's a super easy way. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Anthony Markey, IKAG. That's a way, or you can visit my website, ikag.me. Any or all of those work. Love to have a conversation, love to point you in the right direction, love to give you some education, whatever I can do to help.
Very cool. And I know IKAG is I know a guy, and you do some podcasting as well, Matt. Do we have the podcast address if anyone wants to check out Anthony's podcast? I'm making Matt work here.
Yeah, that's just the website, ikag.me. That's my newsletter and podcast. So yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks. This has been great. Some really, really cool information. It's new and it's different. So it feels a little like, man, I don't fully understand it, or it feels like a lot of work and all that stuff. But small business owners, to be competitive, sometimes we have to find these little gems and explore where other people don't feel they need to get that advantage. And I think it's very useful information if they find themselves with some free time and think, okay, I need to work on my talent acquisition strategy. This could be a very real piece of that. We talk about the 7 candidate drivers all the time. There's only 7 things you can negotiate with the new employee when you're trying to hire them, right? There's 7. You can do the job title, their salary, their incentive, their benefits, their 401k, their PTO, and their schedule. That's it. That's all we can negotiate. So you're covering off one of those big ones and one of the hot topics people are talking about, one of the big 3 that people want to know, right? It's salary, benefits, and schedule. And if you can be competitive in that area to help you land the people you need, you should do it, right? And if it helps everyone long-term, I mean, this is a real holistic approach. It's helping the employee, it's helping you, and it's helping their families. It's helping the community. It's helping the longevity of the business. It's helping, there's no downside to this, right? It's if you go down this road, it's just going to help a lot of areas of the business and people and their families be better, do better, be healthier, live longer, be more productive, take less sick days, all that good stuff.
Yep, absolutely. I always like to say we're just going to empirically show you where you're being overcharged or where you're missing opportunity, because that's what it is. Like you said, it sounds great, but unless you can see it in black and white, then it might as well not exist. So getting that information, knowing how to use it, knowing directly how much it's going to help you, how it's going to save you money, how it's going to be a pay raise for your employees, how it's going to help their health and the health of their family. It's all compounding. If you're competitive with your, competition out there and you get another toehold, you can springboard, you can lever. Hey, you know what? I saved an average of $723 a year per employee, have 50 employees. I'm going to turn that into marketing. Now you're far and ahead above the competition. It's all exponential. Every little bit. We're not talking additive. It's all exponential growth.
Heck, you could give it back in bonuses or staff party or all kinds of cool stuff, right? But it's one way to streamline and lean out your business and be more profitable. But this is it's a smart way to do it, because you're actually helping your employees. You're giving back to your employees, but they're getting educated in areas where they might be struggling or need some knowledge. If you can get healthier employees who are more productive and take less sick days, they're happier, you're happier, their family's happier. It's a good idea. So thank you, man. This has been really great, eye-opening. I'm glad we had the conversation, and I appreciate you taking the time to educate us on this.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Corey.
My pleasure, man. Thank you. There you go, Anthony Markey from the Markey Agency. I'd like to thank you for tuning into the KeyHire Small Business Podcast. If you got value out of today's episode, and I know you did, there was a lot of value in there, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and keep up to date on our new content. Like it, share it, leave us a comment, let us know what topics you'd like us to talk about. If you prefer to listen to your podcast, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, whatever your favorite platform is. Just search up the KeyHire Small Business Podcast. I'd like to thank you for listening. I'm Corey Harlock, and until next time, stop grinding, start growing.